Booyah! Coming at you live from your favorite bunker in Cambodia. It's your favorite YouTube addiction. Oh no, it's not YouTube. That's Red Fisk's thing. Your favorite Facebook Live addiction, Mr.V's Garage Band. And today we're going to be covering 3 instruments, so we got to get after it. Actually, it's not 3 instruments. It's 1 instrument family with 3 different members. So we're going to catch all of them today. It's the one I've got dangling around my neck. This is the saxophone family. And one interesting thing about the saxophone family is that it's kind of a mutt. If you've ever taken a walk and seen that dog out there and behind the fence and just wondered, like, I just really can't tell whether that's a lab or whether that's a poodle or whether that's a Great Dane. Well, that's kind of what the saxophone is. It's a big conglomerate of other woodwind instruments that were put together by one Antoine Joseph Sax, or it probably would have been pronounced Sax, in 1848. He was a Belgian inventor who invented actually lots of other instruments, but it turned out the saxophone is the one that he became well known for. The saxophone family is actually rather large, kind of like a lot like the clarinet family, but the 4 you're going to see in band, 3 really are the ones you're going to see in band. There's one that kind of comes in and out depending on the literature. And the one that I've got around my neck here is the alto saxophone. So we're going to break this down and pull it apart a little bit so you can get to see what's going on here, and then we'll put it back together and we'll play the other members of the saxophone family that we've got here with us. All right, so first thing, like other woodwinds, it's got the open hole concept, so lots of keys and buttons. The saxophone inherited its fingering system from the flute/oboe, almost whole cloth, right? Many flute players or clarinet players will bounce back and forth between saxophone in jazz band because the fingering system is almost exactly the same. Same fingering position, keys and everything do just about the same thing. So very similar in nature. The mouthpiece has I'll pull the ligature and the reed off of. Very similar to a clarinet. You could tell it's got that little hump on it, and that's going to be important for how we put it in our mouth, but pretty close to the clarinet. The big difference is if you notice on the bottom there's no cork, and that is because the cork is here on the neck piece of the saxophone. And the reed itself, I bet, unless I got it really way up close there to the camera, you probably wouldn't be able to distinguish a saxophone reed and a clarinet reed just at first glance. You'd have to really take a good, careful look at them. Like even band directors, is that a saxophone reed or is that a clarinet reed? And then you got to flip it over, check it out. And in a pinch, I know that there are some kids who have used certain saxophone reeds to work on clarinet and vice versa. So reeds are very similar. The filing is just a little bit different on the top, and of course the size difference based on the mouthpiece. Finally, here's our ligature, and remember our ligature's number 1 job. The job number 1 is just to hold that reed tight to the mouthpiece so you don't get any air leaking or anything like that. You can certainly get a silver ligature, a gold ligature, platinum ligature, and those can certainly make your sound a little bit nicer, but really job number 1 is to make sure that reed stays nice and glued to the mouthpiece. So get a little bit of spit on that reed, make sure it's nice and lubricated, and get it put right here on the table. Make sure we've got that nice little sliver of mouthpiece over the top. Get the ligature pulled on, get that screw anchored nice and tight, and I think we're about ready to go. Now, here I mentioned the little bump on the top. whereas the clarinet mouthpiece just goes up, straight up at an angle. That's important because the angle for which a saxophone comes into your mouth is different. For a clarinet, we want that nice, almost 45 or less degree angle. For a saxophone, we ideally want the saxophone to come straight into our mouth, which is why I have the neck strap. Because when I pull saxophone up, I want it to come just straight into my mouth like so. All right. Neck strap also helps with the weight of the instrument. You can see this instrument is 99% metal. If you get rid of the cork and the pads, this is a metal instrument. So it's going to be a little bit heavier than your normal clarinet or flute, and so we use the neck strap to help get just a little bit of support and to make sure that the saxophone comes right into our mouth at the correct angle. So we're going to get this on the neck here, and well, actually, here let's do a little bit of participation for those of you playing along at home. So remember what we did with our clarinet, where we pushed the lip over onto our bottom teeth because we don't want to have this sound. We don't want to have that squeaky sound. So we push that lip over, top teeth, go right down on top of your fingernails. This, straight in, seal around, and blow. Like that. And this, instead of blowing down, we're going to blow straight out this time. So one more time, seal those bottom teeth off, rest on the top, heel around, like that. Okay, now I'm going to do the same thing with the mouthpiece. You can play along at home. Okay, we've got a nice good sound going from our mouthpiece. We'll get that neck put on. Oh, the neck actually does come off. Normally there is a neck screw right here, but it looks like this one may have been damaged, so we're actually missing part of this Alto. We would anchor it, screw that on so it goes nice and... Interesting thing about this, there's metal to metal contact here, which is why you have a screw here to make sure that's nice and tight. We would normally put just a little bit of a special kind of lubricant called cork grease on this, and that helps seal that off too. So we're going to put that on, and let's see what kind of sound we get from our saxophone. Now, as you can see, it doesn't come right into my mouth. So what I have to do with my neck strap here is pull it up just a little bit. So, resting nice and comfortably. If that sounds familiar, maybe like something you'd hear in an elevator, or maybe like something you would hear at the grocery store, or maybe something you would hear being played in the mall at Christmas time, that is because the saxophone is a very, very, very commercialized instrument that is a major backbone of jazz band, marching band, and concert band. It's a very, very, very popular instrument that people know and recognize, thanks in part to a very, very famous popular saxophone player by the name of Kenny G. His collaborations with other popular music artists are well known, and he's about the only guy I know that has been out there and had like #1 chart-topping hits across the board just because he plays an instrument. So if you recognize that saxophone sound and say, "Well, that sounds like something I once heard while I was picking up a thing of milk or bread," that's probably why, right? So this is again the Alto family, or the alto saxophone. We're going to set that down.